Think about growth in your body. Babies cry when they're teething, kids ache when they hit growth spurts. The pain didn't mean their bodies were failing, it meant they were developing. Spiritually and emotionally, it works the same way. When you are going through heartbreak, it might be that God is breaking your dependency on people who were never meant to be your foundation. When you lose a job, God might be breaking your reliance on a paycheck as your identity. When you are facing embarrassment or failure, He might be breaking your pride so you can finally learn in humility what you refuse to learn in comfort. Some habits won't leave your life until pain pushes them out. Some relationships won't end until the discomfort gets too loud to ignore. There are mindsets, small, fearful, limited ways of thinking that won't break until life shakes you so hard you are forced to ask, there has to be more than this, right? That question opens the door for God to show you a bigger version of you. You might be asking, why does it have to hurt? Because if it didn't hurt, you'd stay where you are. Most people do not change in comfort. We change in crisis, in heartbreak, in confusion. Pain gets your attention in a way blessings rarely do. It forces you to confront what you've been avoiding and face what you've been denying. So don't misread your season. Just because you are in pain doesn't mean God has walked off the job. It might mean He just clocked in. It might mean He's doing deep construction on the inside, tearing down old structures so He can build something stronger. You don't renovate a house without making a mess first. The mess doesn't mean it's ruined, it means it's being redone. If you can hold on to that perspective, this hurts, but it's working on me, not against me. You won't collapse under the weight of what you are feeling. Pain can either be the thing that makes you bitter or the thing that makes you better. And when it's in God's hands, it's always working toward better. There comes a moment where you say, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. You are tired of being strong for everybody else. Tired of pretending, tired of holding everything together with emotional duct tape. That breaking point feels like the end of your story, but very often, that's where God starts writing in bold ink. You've tried fixing it your way. You've called who you know, leaned on what you have, pulled every string you can reach, and it still fell apart. That's not always failure. Sometimes that's God gently, or not so gently, moving you out of the way so He can step in. As long as you believe you alone can carry it, you will keep blocking the space only He can fill. Your breaking point strips you of illusions. It reveals, I'm not as in control as I thought. I don't have this all figured out. I can't carry this weight by myself. That realization doesn't make you weak, it makes you honest. And honesty is where faith can finally breathe, because you stop performing and start depending. Think about how many times you only really turned to God when there was nowhere else to turn. When everything was working, your prayers were casual. But when it all cracked, suddenly your prayers had tears, urgency, and truth in them. That depth didn't come from the easy days, it came from the breaking ones. At the breaking point, pride starts to crumble. You are no longer worried about looking strong, you just want to survive. That's where God builds a new kind of strength in you, one that's not based on image, titles, income, or public opinion, but on knowing I made it through something I thought would kill me, and I didn't make it alone. The end of you is the beginning of Him in your situation. When you hit the wall of, I can't, that's when God can show you, I can't. He's not asking you to be superhuman. He's asking you to surrender. There is a difference between giving up and giving it to Him. One is quitting, the other is trusting. So if you are standing at your breaking point right now, don't mislabel it as the end of your story. Call it what it is, the end of trying to be your own savior, the end of trying to control everything, and the start of letting God build you, help you, and carry what you were never meant to carry alone. One of the reasons you feel stuck is that you are waiting on a level of clarity God never promised. You want to know the how, the when, The who and the how long, you want a contract, not a calling. You want a travel itinerary, not a step-by-step walk of faith. God rarely hands out complete blueprints. He gives a step, not the entire staircase. That's not because he's playing games. It's because if he showed you the whole process, you might run from it. You'd see the delays, the pruning, the detours, the betrayals, the lonely seasons, and decide, never mind, I'm good. But you'd also be running from the growth, the miracles, the doors, the favor, and the person you are going to become on the way. Sometimes the next step looks small and unimpressive. Send the application. Make the apology. Start the course. Join the group. Get the therapy. Ask for help. These aren't dramatic spotlight moments. They are quiet, practical shifts. And most breakthroughs are built on boring obedience before they ever become big testimonies. While you are asking for 5-year plans, God is saying, can you just trust me with today? You are paralyzed because you don't know everything, but you were never required to know everything, just to move on to what you do know. Obedience is powerful even when you don't have all the answers. The truth is, a lot of your stress comes from trying to drag old baggage into a new step. You want to move forward, but keep everything and everyone from the last season. There are people God never told you to bring with you. There are habits he's not going to bless in the new level. The next step may include some separation, and that's why it feels so scary. Ask yourself, what is one clear thing I already know I'm supposed to do that I've been avoiding? You don't need another confirmation if you're ignoring the instructions you already have. Start there. That's your next step. Courage doesn't always roar. Often it whispers, I'll try again tomorrow. When you act on the light you have, more light shows up. As you step, the path unfolds. Life with God is often revealed in motion, not in stillness. You move, he shows. You trust, he guides. And over time, you look back and realize that those little steps of obedience, one after another, created a path you could have never designed on your own. You've had doors slam in your face that you really wanted to walk through. Opportunities that looked perfect on paper disappeared. People you wanted to keep in your life chose to leave. Plans you were sure would work blew up in your hands. It's easy in those moments to feel rejected and forgotten. But not every no is a rejection. Some no's are a rescue you don't recognize yet. You are measuring the situation by what you wanted in that moment. God is measuring it by what you need in the long run. You see the current benefit. He sees the future damage. Sometimes the door closes because on the other side of it is something that doesn't match the prayer you prayed for protection, peace, or purpose. Think back on something you were desperate for in the past that you are now grateful didn't work out. That relationship you thought was the one that would have broken you. That job you thought was your dream that would have drained your soul. That move you wanted that would have disconnected you from people and places you needed. At the time, you called it disappointment. Now you might call it deliverance. It hurts when you don't understand the why, but faith doesn't always get the luxury of immediate explanations. Faith often sounds like, I don't like this. I don't get this, but I trust that if it was truly good for me in this season, God would not have had to slam the door to keep it away. Closed doors also redirect. When a path is blocked, it forces you to look for another one. Maybe the industry you are pushing into isn't where you are meant to be. Maybe the crowd you are trying so hard to impress is not the community that's going to grow you. Maybe the opportunity that vanished is a sign to build your own instead of waiting for someone to validate you. Sometimes, too, you are banging on a door God already walked away from. You are obsessed with making something happen that he's no longer in. You can waste years trying to resurrect what he's already called finished. Closed doors invite you to stop begging for what's left and start asking, all right, God, if not this, what are you aligning me for? So the next time a door closes, allow yourself to feel the sting, but don't camp in bitterness. Ask for the wisdom to see the protection in the no. A closed door might be the very thing that keeps you available for the door that actually matches your assignment, your health, and your future. Most of us have a script in our head about how life should go. By this age, I'll be married. By this time, I'll have this much money. By this point in my life, I'll be in this career, in that city, with that level of comfort. And then life happens, and it does not read from your script. When your script and God's purpose collide, something has to give, and it won't be his purpose. So what does he do? He interrupts. He allows shakeups that you didn't schedule. He allows delays, detours, and plot twists that don't fit what you wrote for yourself. Not because he's cruel, but because he refuses to let you settle for a life that's smaller than what he put in you. There are things you were chasing that had nothing to do with who you are called to be, just what culture told you to want. The big house, the impressive title, the picture, perfect relationship, the look at me moments. And then something disrupted that chase. You call it a setback. Heaven might call it a redirection. Purpose is rarely discovered in perfect conditions. It often shows up in crisis, in dissatisfaction, in that deep inner nagging that says, there has to be more than this. That voice got louder when your plans fell apart. When everything went right, you could ignore it. But when it went wrong, you finally started asking bigger questions. In those moments, you have two choices. You can cling to the old blueprint and stay angry that life didn't go your way. Or you can open your hands and say, all right, my way crashed. What are you trying to show me, God? What am I really here to do? One choice keeps you stuck in frustration. The other moves you toward purpose. Sometimes purpose looks less glamorous than your plan, but feels more fulfilling. Maybe you thought success was climbing corporate ladders, but God is calling you to build something from scratch. Maybe you thought your worth was in status, but he's calling you to impact people's lives in quiet, powerful ways that don't go viral but change destinies. As your plans break apart, pay attention to what remains, your gifts, your values, the things you can't stop caring about, the people you are drawn to help. Those are clues. God will mess up what you thought you wanted to wake up, what you were truly made for. When you take a big hit in life, it's easy to start believing, maybe I'm not chosen. Maybe I'm not called. Maybe I was wrong about what I thought God wanted to do with me. Loss and failure don't just attack your situation, they attack your identity, they whisper. See, you were foolish to dream like that. You might have lost a job, but you didn't lose your gifting. You might have lost a relationship, but you didn't lose your capacity to love and be loved. You might have lost money, status, reputation, or comfort, but the core of who you are, the part God put his hand on, does not get canceled by a rough season. Calling is not a mood. It doesn't come and go based on your emotions. It doesn't fluctuate with your bank balance. It's not something people can vote on. You can be in a low season and still be deeply, powerfully called. In fact, God often reveals and refines your calling in the very seasons you wish you could erase. Look at what you still can't let go of, even in hardship. Do you still feel pulled to help people? Create, teach, lead, serve, build, encourage, solve problems. That pull is a signal. Hard times might slow you down, but they don't rewrite the original design. Circumstances can cover your calling for a while, but they can't delete it. What does change in hard seasons is your approach and your depth. You come out with more empathy, more wisdom, more patience, more grit. You are not as quick to judge others because you know what it feels like to be down. That makes you more effective in your calling, not disqualified from it. Stop saying, it's over for me just because it's dark right now. Stop disqualifying yourself because of divorce, bankruptcy, addiction, mistakes, or years you feel you wasted. If God were done, you wouldn't still be here. The fact that you are breathing means there's still work for you to do, people for you to impact, and growth for you to walk into. Let the hard season humble you, teach you, and refine you. Let it adjust your attitude and deepen your dependence on God. But don't let it convince you that you are no longer called. God's gifts and calling on your life are not fragile. They can survive storms you never thought you'd make it through. Think back over your life. There were days you thought would break you. Nights you cried until you couldn't cry anymore. Moments you were sure, I can't come back from this. But you did. Maybe not quickly, maybe not cleanly, but you did. You might downplay it now, but some of those situations were serious. The heartbreak that left you numb, the loss that hollowed you out, the failure that made you hide, the anxiety that kept you up. At the time, it felt permanent, but it wasn't. You are on the other side of something you once thought you'd never climb out of. That's not an accident. That's resilience. That's grace. That's proof that even when you didn't know how you were going to make it, something in you refused to die. Maybe you crawled. Maybe you stumbled. Maybe you barely made it, but you didn't quit. You are still here. You don't give yourself enough credit for what you've made it through. You minimize it because now it's in the past. But if you really stop and replay those scenes, you will see how strong you had to be and how present God had to be, even when you didn't feel Him. You didn't just survive by luck. You were carried. When the next hard day comes, and it will, you need to bring your memory into the fight. Remind yourself, I've felt this kind of fear before, and I'm still here. I've had my heart broken before, and I'm still here. I've been disappointed, rejected, and embarrassed before, and I'm still here. That history should fuel your hope, not your despair. Your survival is not just about you. The fact that you are still standing means somebody else can stand too. If you came through depression, someone watching you can believe healing is possible. If you get back up after failure, someone else can try again. You are walking proof that bad moments don't have to become final endings. So when life tries to convince you, this time it's over, answer back with your own story. You are a living receipt of every storm you've already been delivered from. That track record is evidence you are tougher than you feel, and God has been more faithful than you realize. Right now, your life might feel like it's stuck on one painful scene. A breakup, a breakdown, a bad decision, a season of struggle. That moment plays on repeat in your mind until it starts to feel like your entire identity. You go from, I made a mistake, to, I am a mistake. That shift is dangerous. You are more than the worst thing you've done. You are more than the worst thing that's been done to you. You are more than one failed business, one broken relationship, one addiction, one bad season. Your story is still being written. This chapter is loud right now, but there are pages you haven't turned yet. When you read a good book or watch a good movie, there's always a crisis, a low point, a dark moment where it looks like the hero won't make it. You don't close the book there and say, well, that's it. You keep reading because you know there's more coming. But with your own life, you are trying to end the story at the worst page. The chapter you are in, no matter how dark, is just part of your development. It's shaping your character, revealing your values and exposing what needs to change. Painful, yes. Permanent, no. What feels like an ending emotionally is often just a transition spiritually. Other people may try to define you by that low moment. They will say, oh, that's the one who went bankrupt, got locked up, got divorced, got fired, had that scandal. Let them talk. They are stuck in an old chapter. God is already writing the next one, and you don't need their permission to turn the page. Your job is not to erase the chapter, but to outgrow it. Learn what you must learn, heal where you must heal. Make things right where you can, and then keep moving. Your story can contain mistakes without being reduced to them. The same way a house has many rooms, your life has many seasons. Don't live your whole life in one dark room when God has opened doors to more. Staring at one chapter in shame keeps you stuck. Lifting your eyes to the author gives you perspective. You get to say, that was me, but that's not all of me. That happened, but it's not the end of me. Your past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. Some of you disqualify yourselves before you even start. You look at your past, your personality, your weaknesses, your struggles, and you decide, there's no way God can really use somebody like me. So you sit on the sidelines of your own purpose, waiting to become some perfect version of yourself that doesn't even exist. If you pay attention to the stories of people who've had real impact, you won't find perfection. You will find brokenness, mistakes, failures, doubts, and insecurities. You will find scared people, people who didn't feel smart enough, clean enough, worthy enough, yet somehow God still worked through them. What qualifies you is not your spotless record, it's your willingness. God is not running background checks looking for spotless humans. He already knows everything about you, what you've done, what you've thought, what you've hidden. And he still calls you. That's grace. If he only used perfect people, he wouldn't be using anybody. Your flaws don't disqualify you. They can actually make you more relatable. People connect with real. They are not moved by a fake, polished image as much as they are moved by someone who says, I've been there. I've messed up. I've struggled. But look at what God is still doing in me. Your scars can become proof of healing, not signs of hopelessness. You might feel too ordinary. Just another person with a regular life and regular problems. That's exactly who God loves to use, because then he gets the credit. When something powerful happens through an ordinary person, people know it wasn't just talent, money, or status. It had to be something bigger. Stop waiting until you fix everything before you step into purpose. That day will never come. Growth is a lifelong process. You don't get clean and then show up. You show up, and along the way, God keeps cleaning, shaping, and maturing you. He works through you while he works on you. Your brokenness surrendered to God becomes a channel of power. He doesn't need you to be flawless. He needs you to be available. You bring the little you have, the fish and loaves of your life, and he multiplies it far beyond what makes sense on paper. Some people think faith means pretending everything is fine when it's not, smiling when you are shattered, speaking in cliches and churchy phrases while your whole world is on fire. That's not faith. That's denial. Faith doesn't ask you to lie about your pain. Real faith looks at the situation honestly. The report is bad. The bank account is low. The relationship is strained. The anxiety is real. You don't sugarcoat it. You name it. You acknowledge it. Then, in the same breath, you say, but this is not the final word over my life. Faith defies the situation not by fantasy, but by trusting that God can work above, beyond, and through what you are facing. It says, yes, this is what it looks like right now, but I believe there's more going on than what I can see. It refuses to let the visible facts be the only voice in the room. You've got to talk back to your circumstances, not with empty positivity, but with grounded confidence. I may be down, but I'm not done. I may be hurting, but I'm healing. I may be confused, but I'm guided. I may be struggling, but I'm not abandoned. That kind of inner language shifts how you move, even when nothing outside has changed yet. Faith also does not mean you do nothing. You don't just sit on the couch saying, God's got it, while ignoring every responsibility and opportunity in front of you. Faith plans, works, applies, studies, tries again, and trusts God with the part that's beyond human reach. You bring your effort, he brings his power. When you walk by faith, people will think you are crazy. They will say, why are you still trying? Why are you still hoping? Because they are only calculating based on what they see. You are calculating based on what God can do. Faith refuses to reduce your future to your current situation. So, no, faith is not sticking your head in the sand. It's standing in the storm, eyes wide open, heart anchored, and saying, this is rough, this is real, but this is not the end. I believe there's a way being made that I cannot yet see. That posture will carry you when logic says you should have given up a long time ago. A lot of frustration comes from confusing your role with God's role. You either take on everything and burn out trying to control what was never yours to control, or you do nothing and call it faith while waiting for God to do what he's actually asked you to get up and do. Your part is the possible. God's part is the impossible. Your part is to obey the nudges, send the applications, make the calls, show up on time, practice, study, apologize, forgive, plan, invest, and rest wisely. His part is to open the doors you can't, change the hearts you can't, heal what you can't, and arrange what's beyond your reach. If you can work, work. If you can ask for help, ask. If you can get counsel, do it. If you can apply for the program, apply. Sitting in the dark, hoping everything will magically change when you've ignored 10 practical steps you could take is not faith, it's avoidance. God is not your excuse to stay stuck. On the flip side, once you've done your part, you have to release the outcome. You can't control whether they say yes or no, whether they stay or leave, whether the company picks you, or whether people respond the way you hope. That's the part that will drive you crazy if you don't learn to hand it over. When you do what you can and then surrender what you can't, you will feel a weight lifted. You are not designed to carry the whole world on your shoulders. You are called to steward what's in your hands and trust God with what's in His. That's how you keep going without collapsing under anxiety. There will be days when your can is very small. Maybe all you can do is get out of bed, answer one email, call one friend, pray one honest prayer. That still counts. God can work with a mustard seed of effort and a mustard seed of faith. You don't have to move mountains. You just have to show up with what you've got. Keep asking yourself, what is my part today? Then do that and leave the rest. When you live like that, you stop trying to be God in your own life and start experiencing what it's like to actually partner with Him. When you are hurting, confused, or disappointed, you are wide open. Your defenses are down. What you hear in that state sinks deeper. That's why you can't be casual about the voices you allow around you when life is heavy. Some people love you but speak fear into you. Every time you share a dream, they list all the reasons it won't work. Every time you talk about trying again, they remind you of when you failed. They think they are just being real. But what they are really doing is amplifying your doubts. Then some people water your faith. They don't lie to you about the difficulty, but they remind you who you are and who's with you. They say, yes, it's hard, but you've made it through hard before. Yes, you are scared, but you don't have to stop here. Yes, you messed up, but that's not the end of your story. You walk away from them a little lighter, a little stronger. You also have to manage the voices you can't see, what you scroll, what you watch, what you replay in your head. If you are constantly feeding yourself comparison, drama, negativity, and bad news, you are marinating your mind in fear and envy. That will color how you see your own situation. Sometimes protecting your spirit means hitting mute. Muting certain social media, muting constant complainers, muting that inner critic that talks to you harsher than anyone else would. You have the right to curate what gets space in your head and heart, especially when you are vulnerable. Ask yourself, when I'm done talking to this person or consuming this content, do I feel more hopeful or more hopeless, more clear or more confused, closer to God or further? That will tell you something. The wrong voices can make you quit right before your breakthrough. The right ones can help you hang on when you are tempted to let go. In low seasons, seek out voices of truth, wisdom, and encouragement. Books, messages, mentors, friends, counselors. Fill your environment with words that lift your perspective. Faith comes by hearing. Fear does too. Make sure you choose which one you are feeding. The wilderness is that in-between space. No longer where you were, not yet where you're going. It's confusing and uncomfortable. Old doors have closed, but new ones haven't opened yet. You feel lost, unseen, and unsure of who you even are anymore. Most people hate the wilderness. They either rush to escape it or sit in it complaining. But the wilderness has a purpose. In that quiet, stripped-down place, you discover who you are without the titles, the applause, the routines you used to hide behind. You are left with just you and God, and that can be the most powerful classroom of your life. In the wilderness, your coping mechanisms get exposed. You can't numb out the same way forever. You can't outrun your thoughts. You can't hide behind business. The questions you avoided start chasing you. What do I really believe? Who am I without this job, this person, this identity? What actually matters to me? If you lean in instead of just longing to escape, the wilderness will teach you. You learn resilience, how to stand when nothing is familiar. You learn dependence, how to rely on God daily, not just when it's convenient. You learn contentment, how to find small joys, even when life doesn't look like you imagine. You also learn discernment. In the wilderness, some people stop calling, some supports fall away. You discover who was attached to your position and who's attached to your person. It hurts, but it clarifies. God will use isolation to remove wrong attachments so he can send right ones in the next season. The key is not to waste the wilderness. Don't come out of it as bitter as you went in. Don't go through all that pain and come out with no growth, no new insight, no deeper relationship with God or yourself. If you've got to cry in it, cry. If you've got to wrestle with questions, wrestle. But take notes on your soul while you are there. One day you will look back on that wilderness not as a random nightmare, but as the place where your roots went deep, where you stopped living on surface, level faith, and built something real with God. And that depth will sustain you when you do step into your next level. When life is heavy, gratitude can feel fake. You might think, what do I have to be thankful for? Everything is falling apart. But gratitude in hard times is not about pretending everything is good. It's about refusing to let what's bad blind you to what's still there. Gratitude shifts your focus. Your mind naturally fixates on problems, bills, conflicts, losses, aches. If you never intentionally look for anything else, that becomes your whole world. Gratitude forces you to scan your life for glimpses of grace, a friend who checked on you, a moment of laughter, a small provision, another day of breath. You don't have to feel thankful to practice gratitude. You choose it, one thing a day. Thank you that I made it through work. Thank you for that. Even though I cried, I didn't completely break. Thank you for that one person who texted me. Thank you I had food to eat. These may sound small, but they begin to rewire how you see your life. Gratitude doesn't magically erase your problems, but it strengthens you to carry them. A grateful heart is more resilient, more hopeful, more open to seeing possibilities. When you only rehearse what's wrong, you get weaker and more defeated. When you also rehearse what's right, you gain a little more strength each day. In dark seasons, gratitude is also an act of defiance. You are telling your situation, you will not own all of my attention. You are telling your pain, you don't get to define every thought I think. You are telling your fear, you are loud, but you are not the only voice in my life. That's spiritual warfare fought in very practical ways. This isn't about toxic positivity. It's not about saying, it's fun when it's not. It's about saying, it's hard, and I still see God here. Those two truths can exist together. That's grown up faith. That's how you keep your heart from going completely numb or bitter in long battles. Over time, you will notice that gratitude becomes a habit. You will start spotting blessings quicker. You will feel your perspective widen. You won't be as easily swallowed by negativity. And in that strengthened, more hopeful state, you will be more able to recognize and walk through the doors God opens next. In a culture that glorifies grinding nonstop, you start to feel guilty for being tired. You tell yourself, I can't slow down, I have to keep pushing. If I stop, everything will fall apart. So you run on fumes, burning yourself out physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Rest is not laziness, it's wisdom. Even machines break down if they run continuously without maintenance. You are not a robot. You have limits. Ignoring those limits doesn't make you dedicated. It makes you self-destructive. Strong people are not the ones who never rest. They are the ones who know when to. Sometimes we keep busy to avoid facing ourselves. If you slow down, the thoughts you've been outrunning might catch up, the grief, the emptiness, the questions. So you keep packing your schedule. Rest threatens your denial, but it also offers your healing. In stillness, God can bring things to the surface so he can address them. Rest is also spiritual. Even God modeled rest, not because he was tired, but to show you a rhythm. Work and rest, give and recharge, pour out and be filled. You thinking you must be on all the time is you acting like you are above the pattern the Creator himself demonstrated. Rest can look like sleep, like a day off, like saying no, like unplugging from social media, like sitting in silence, like taking a walk, like laughing with people you love. It can look like getting help instead of carrying everything alone. None of that means you've quit. It means you are refueling to keep going. If you ignore rest, your body will eventually force it on you through burnout, breakdown, or illness. If you ignore emotional rest, your relationships will pay for it. If you ignore spiritual rest, your faith will feel dry and mechanical. You will start moving out of obligation instead of overflow. So give yourself permission to rest without calling yourself weak. Rest is an act of trust, saying, the world won't fall apart if I pause. God is still God while I lay this down for a moment. You come back clearer, stronger, and more ready for whatever is next. A lot of people think they have to clean themselves up before they talk to God. They try to use the right words, the right tone, like they are filing a formal report. Meanwhile, their heart is screaming something totally different. That disconnect keeps their prayers shallow and their relationship distant. God is not impressed by fancy phrases. He already knows what's really going on inside you, the anger, the confusion, the disappointment, the fear, the temptation. He doesn't need your performance. He wants your honesty. Real connection starts when you stop pretending with him. It's okay to say, I'm mad, I'm hurt. I don't get why this is happening. I feel like you are far. I feel like you forgot about me. I'm tired of this. Those aren't disrespectful when they are real, they are human. God has handled far worse from far more people. He's not fragile. He would rather hear your honest frustration than your fake, I'm fine, Lord. Honesty doesn't push God away, it invites him in. When you bring your raw self to him, you are actually trusting him with your truth. You are saying, I believe you are big enough for this. I'm not going to run from you with it. I'm bringing it to you. That's relational faith. Prayer is not a monologue. It's not just you talking. It's you making room to listen. Through scripture, through a quiet nudge in your spirit, through wise counsel, through the peace or clarity that comes after you pour your heart out. When you are honest, you clear the static that dishonesty creates and you can hear better. Over time, as you practice this kind of real conversation, you stop seeing God as a distant judge and more as a present father, a friend, a helper. You feel safer coming to him even when you've messed up, especially when you've messed up. That safety keeps you close instead of making you run. You don't have to wait until you have it together to pray. Pray from the mess, in the mess, about the mess. Short, simple, raw, help me, strengthen me, show me, forgive me, hold me. Those are the kind of prayers that move heaven, not because they are poetic, but because they are true. Right now, you might be wondering, what's the point of all this? Why did I have to go through this much pain? That question is real. One of the answers, one, not the only, is that your story is going to help somebody else make it through theirs. There is somebody out there who will feel seen when they hear what you've survived. Your struggle with anxiety, addiction, divorce, failure, shame, loss, those things you wish you could erase, will become bridges you walk across to reach others who think they are alone. People can argue with your opinions, but they can't argue with your story. When you say, I've been there, it hits different. Your testimony carries a weight that theories don't. You know what that dark room feels like, and you also know there's a way out. That combination is powerful. You may not feel ready to share yet. That's okay. Healing takes time. There are chapters you speak about slowly. But even now, as you are still walking it out, seeds are being planted. The wisdom you are gaining, the compassion you are developing, the perspective you are earning, all of that is being stored up for future moments of impact. Don't underestimate the power of small sharing. A conversation with a friend, a comment to a coworker, a moment with a stranger. You don't have to be on a stage or a platform. Most life-changing encouragement happens in quiet on ones where someone says, I've walked that road. You are not crazy. You are not doomed. You can survive this. Your pain will not be wasted if you put it in God's hands. He has a way of recycling the very things that tried to break you and turning them into tools that build others. You come out with keys of insight, empathy, and faith that can unlock prison doors for people still trapped where you used to be. So even while it still hurts, hold on to this. There will come a day when you stand where you are going and look back at where you've been, and someone else, standing where you are now, will draw strength from your story. You walking through this doesn't just change you, it changes everyone your life will touch. In this age of constant exposure, it's easy to measure your life against everyone else's highlight reel. You scroll and see engagements, promotions, vacations, new houses, happy families, and you start feeling like you are behind, broken, or cursed because your life doesn't look like theirs. Comparison is a thief. It doesn't just steal your joy, it steals your focus. Instead of paying attention to what God is doing in you and for you, your eyes are glued to what He's doing in someone else. You stop appreciating your blessings because they don't look as glossy as theirs. You start despising your process because it's taking longer. You don't know their full story. You don't see the nights they cried, the fights they had, the pressure they are under, the sacrifices they made, the help they received, or the things they hide. You are comparing your behind the scenes to their best moments. It's an unfair, untrue comparison. God is not running out of goodness. Someone else winning is not you losing. Someone else's open door is not your closed one. They are on their assignment, you are on yours. Their timing, their path, their pace, their battles, they are customized for them. Yours is customized for you. When you keep looking left and right, you slow down on your own race. Imagine a runner constantly turning their head to see how everyone else is doing. They lose speed, lose form, and might even trip. That's what comparison does to your spirit. You drift away from your lane. Refocus on your journey. Ask, what is God asking of me in this season? What am I supposed to be building, healing, learning, sowing? Celebrate others without resenting them. Use their stories as inspiration, not proof that you are failing. Let their win show you what's possible, not what's impossible for you. You are not late. You are not early. You are right on time for what God is doing with you. Your path may not look like anybody else's, and that's the point. He didn't make a copy when He made you. There are things only you can do the way you can do them, and comparison keeps you from discovering that. There are moments where the weight of everything makes you wonder, what's the point? Maybe my best days are behind me. Maybe this is it. That's a heavy place to be. But as long as you woke up today, as long as there is breath in your lungs, there is purpose still attached to your name. You might feel like you've wasted years through bad decisions, fear, procrastination, addiction, and wrong relationships. You might think, I've messed up too much. I've gone too far. But you are not powerful enough to ruin God's ability to redeem. He factors your mistakes into the plan and still finds ways to bring beauty out of them. Purpose doesn't always look like something big and flashy. It might be raising a child, encouraging a friend, serving your community, showing up faithfully to your job with integrity, starting that small thing that grows over time, or simply being a light in dark places. It might be healing so that generational patterns of pain stop with you. If you are still here, there are still people you are meant to impact, lessons you are meant to learn, growth you are meant to experience, and things you are meant to see. Your presence on this earth is not random. You survived what you survived because there's more for you to walk into. The enemy of your soul would love for you to believe you are done, so you stop trying. He wants you numb, checked out, moving through life on autopilot. But that numbness you feel is not confirmation that there's no purpose. It's usually a sign you've been hurt. and disappointed. Purpose often hides under those layers. Start by asking small but honest questions. What still matters to me? What have I not been able to shake even when I tried? Who do I feel drawn to help? What breaks my heart in a way that makes me want to do something about it? The answers might not come all at once, but they are there. Your age, your past, your current struggle, none of those are stronger than God's ability to use you. If you are still breathing, He's still building, still guiding, still inviting you into more than just surviving the day. There is a reason you are still here, and step by step, you can walk that out. There will be seasons where you genuinely cannot see how this could work out. The numbers don't add up. The timeline looks impossible. The pain feels too deep. Every path you can imagine in your own mind looks blocked. Your vision is limited by what's in front of you. In those moments, it's easy to believe you are walking alone. You think, nobody really gets this. Nobody can fix this. I don't even know what to pray anymore. But you are not abandoned in the valley. The same God who was with you on the mountaintop is with you in the shadow. His presence is not seasonal. You may not always feel Him. Feelings fluctuate. But presence is not a feeling, it's a fact. He was there in the rooms you cried in. He was there when you didn't get the call back. He was there when they walked away. He was there when you made the mistake. Quiet does not equal absence. When you can't see the way, remember that you are walking with the one who doesn't need visible roads to lead you. He can create opportunities that didn't exist. He can connect you to people you